Hey, welcome to Hear Us Out. I'm Paul,
And I'm Patrick.
and we're going to be talking about Alien Romulus. Is it going to be the alien resurrection that we truly wanted? Disclaimer, myself and Patrick have not seen the movie yet. We have not been of the lucky few of the people who have been able to see the movie. But those of who have seen Romulus also want you to know that 80% of you are not subscribed to our channel, and you should subscribe to our channel. I thought I'd smack that in there.
I was about to grab my subscribe hat, but get it in there, everybody. Subscribe, and especially if you like what we do. And you know what? You're about to find out if you do like what we do. One other disclaimer, both Paul and I are Aliens fans, I guess is the right way to put it. Like I might have gone a little bit overboard, Paul, that I'm an Alien and Aliens, the first two film, and Alien 3. I'm a absolute super nut because I absolutely love them, including the third one. That's right, including the third.
Yep.
And then there's a huge drop off. But that's why I'm so excited about this, Paul. Is Alien Romulus the return to form?
Yes,
Is this our new chance?
yeah.
Yes.
This is the amazing thing. So we have a video link up above, Patrick, to our original, which is a video on Alien Romulus, which is about what it needs to do, what things are we looking forward to in a kind of Aliens 2 kind of like, mixture film kind of thing. So do go check that out. We'll rehash a little bit of that video here, and then move on to some of the other things that we'll be talking about. But yeah, Alien Romulus, a return to form. It really does look good, doesn't it?
It looks great, Paul. And the thing that I think gives me the most hope is it, even though, we don't know exactly to the moment where it's set, but it was released, and this is common knowledge, so no spoiler here. It does happen in a timeline somewhere between the first and second film, so between Alien and Aliens. Good news for me, I think, is having seen trailers, it doesn't look like, okay, they're paying homage and they're hat tipping all over the place, and they're going to do, shot for shot, they're going to have some comparisons here. There's going to be, they're resetting that pose or they're repulling this,
Yeah.
there'll be no some nostalgia mining, and the member berries will be out in full force. However, it does look like they're going back to the, hey, aliens and alien, it's not a gimmick. You got to make something tense and compelling. And if you're going to use action, it's got to be action action. If you're going to use tension, it's got to be tension. And that's why I'm so excited. I think finally somebody who understands why Alien worked, instead of a business person who was like, who can Alien fight next? If fought the Predator, let's get the Xenomorph in against Santa Claus or
Yeah.
the Rock Johnson or whatever.
Yeah, like that's the biggest thing, is that the two elements that have really kind of like helped the downfall of the franchise has been the we all got excited for Alien versus Predator 1, and then we were kind of hoping for Alien versus Predator 2, and then I kind of was just like, okay, well, this is just terrible. And then Prometheus was like, announced, and we were just like, okay, cool, we're going to a pure formed movie. And then it was just like, we're going to explain where the aliens came from, and we were all just like, oh, okay, we'll go along with this, okay. And then it just got worse and worse. That's what
Oh, I
happened to
hate
the
that
franchise.
movie.
Yeah, see, that's what happened to the franchise. And Alien Romulus has a big uphill battle, kind of thing, with the trust that the audience have lost with the franchise and stuff like that. So like it's got a mountain to climb. But
It really does.
the thing is that, like, as we said in our original ones, there's a lot to look forward to in this film. But we're going to be talking about more about the potential of essentially this film has within the wider franchise. This has a great way of restarting or rekindling the fire within the audience's trust and wonder and fear of the xenomorphs. Because in fairness, like, the hit rate hasn't been entirely bad for the Alien. You've got two stinkers, which is the Covenant and Prometheus. You've got
Yeah.
two excellent ones, Alien and Aliens. And
Two
you
of the
got
best.
then you got a two middle ground ones kind of thing of Alien 3 and Alien Resurrection.
Yes, except for me, obviously, one of them is Alien 3 and
Yes, yeah.
Alien Resurrection.
I would
So,
say that Alien 3 and Alien Resurrection kind of cancel each other out, in the sense of, like, if Aliens and Alien cancel out Prometheus and Covenant, Alien 3 cancels out, we're going to like,
There you go.
So Alien Romulus is a good way of essentially has a good kind of idea or so far a good platform or potential to essentially restart our love of the franchise. So which is there's quite a lot in it.
Mm.
Like yeah, for us, I think it would be excellent just to hear because we've talked a lot about you've got a universe, you can do so much with it,
Mm.
and it means the possibility of essentially more movies again, or even a TV show, which a lot of movie franchises are going towards nowadays. If Romulus can prove the fact that the Alien franchise is savable,
Yeah, and honestly, did Alien need a sequel, and did it ever need to become a franchise? No. Was Aliens, for me, is it, up there with the greatest sequels of all time? It's always going to be a number one or two spot for greatest sequels of all time. Yes. Did that mean that they needed a franchise? No. Does anything like that ever need a franchise? No. But once you have, and that's the thing, we're not turning back the clock here, everybody. Like it or not, Alien and the Xenomorph and Ripley's lore and everything else is now out there. They've managed the thing that happens with a franchise in sci-fi. They've built a universe. They've got a playground with some accepted things, some accepted knowledge, some just pop culture stuff that is out there and ingrained. From face huggers to acid for blood to mouths inside mouths. You've got a lot of stuff that's there now. That's a wonderful thing in storytelling to be able to say, you know what, on page one of this book, I already know the reader has a certain amount of knowledge. You can then do, and I think Mandalorian for Star Wars, that was one of those things where, hey, you know, Boba Fett wasn't, he was one of the big breakout stars of the Star Wars movies,
yeah,
but he wasn't in them very long. You can take the universe and you can have something else happen in it. Now, can they rekindle this? Yes. If they make a good movie, everybody will be happy. What will they do with that, and what will it mean to people? Like, it'll mean an awful lot to me, Paul, because it's the basics of what they set up and the idea that those first three movies, had set a tone of these are not the crappy sci-fi monster flicks. These are things, this is a franchise where people, if they put the effort in, can really bring you on a journey.
yeah, like that's the most important thing about this like rekindling of or recapturing of the franchise as a whole is that it's a transformation between like the first two are just an amazing kind of like Alien was just a horror movie, monster movie. Aliens was essentially the evolution of it, where it became more actiony. As Brew actually said in the chat, that Romulus is meant to be a blending of the two. Alien 3 they tried to bring it back to the horror kind of like more element, which they had less to work with. Alien Resurrection was just it felt like the death throes of a franchise. Prometheus, like I'll give Prometheus this: it is a beautiful looking movie. It has got more holes in it than Swiss cheese. And the problem with Covenant is somehow they figured out how to put more holes in Swiss cheese, kind of thing. So yeah, like as long as there's a lot of problems with Prometheus and Covenant in the sense of character driven decisions, which solely are to move on the plot, not in any way actually like to show you more of the character, which is a big problem I have with those films. But
I,
instead of kind of getting into a review, because yeah,
well, I can't forgive them for trying to explain everything. That's
yeah,
what I cannot forgive Prometheus and Covenant for saying the most interesting thing we can do here is try and reverse engineer an origin story for everything that you've seen in these other movies. That's fine if you want to go back to, if you really want to make this a Ripley story and have her be a badass on a playground or something, if that's an angle that you want to take. But when you're going for the threat, what was the key thing that made Alien scary? Went out, mysterious thing happened, gross thing happened. I was going to say grosser, but no, facehuggers are the grossest thing.
yeah,
Gross thing burst out in a gross way. Then you're on to this killing, scary machine. Why was it scary? We didn't know if its name was Dave. We didn't know if, we didn't know its lineage all the way back to being ink in a pot somewhere. We didn't know any of that. What we knew was incredibly hard to kill, bit scared of fire, acid for blood, which is insane in space.
Yeah.
Uh, The perfection of the xenomorph that then they talk about in the second movie, this perfect killing machine, the why it's so valuable and so beautiful, does not require explanation. In fact, it begs for no explanation
Yeah.
to be given. You don't go back and look in the small fish tank where Jaws came from. You don't follow Jaws from being a tiddly little fish.
Yeah.
You meet Jaws when the teeth are out, and you do not explain where it came from or it came from.
No, no, and this is the thing. We know that Covenant were that Covenant then followed that trend of essentially having David, the androids, essentially trying to follow that trend of evolution and trying to make the perfect xenomorph that it controls, all that kind of stuff. Our problem now is the fact is that Romulus can rekindle a lot of stuff here. And the potential of that means that we can either have multiple different storylines going on at the same time. Because the thing is, although although uh we know, or like we have been told, that the incidents with these xenomorphs have been very rare, because if we follow the Ripley timeline, or the Ripley line of plot,
Yeah.
it's essentially just those specific kind of moments. But part of the Romulus thing can be that there's more going on, as in this alien race is essentially being interacted with more often, um,
Yeah.
which means that we could have multiple storylines going on at the same time. So we could have like the Ripley storyline intact, and then we could have essentially the I don't know, some other people that we follow, kind of thing.
You can go anywhere in the universe. That's the key. That is the thing that they keep looking the gift horse in the mouth. So much has been set up for so long that you have all these shorthands to go and tell your story. And Paul, I'm going to say it before somebody gets in the comments, if that's okay. I'm just going to jump in. We have a perfect example of this. And weirdly, it already has a crossover with aliens or Alien. Predator, whatever you think of Predator 1, Predator 2, etc., Prey. When they decided to do what is technically a prequel, but was in no way a prequel, they just went somewhere else in the universe,
Yeah,
somewhere else in time, essentially, and they said, we're going to make a Predator movie. And you know what we're going to do? We're going to use the fact that you all at home have an idea of what a Predator is. Then we're going to make an awesome movie. And the only things that are going to actually call back or do anything, we're going to throw in a few Easter eggs, a few things, a few little kind of, hat tips and nods here and there. But we're just going to concentrate on making a really good movie using the Predator lore. But they didn't kind of go, okay, well, remember Predator Dave? Well, Predator Dave here, this is his great, 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 great grandfather, Predator Jimmy. They didn't bother doing that.
yeah,
Same thing with what they can do with Alien now. They can pretty much say, we've got so much. Let's tell a terrifying story in a factory that's being built somewhere, and this story never gets back to anybody. Nobody ever hears it. It's one person, one alien, whatever.
yeah,
Let's talk about a whole world that is overrun by 40,000 xenomorphs everywhere. Like there is no limit. That's the point, because you have such an advantage. Why they had to prequel it with explanation stuff. I'm going to
yeah.
start cursing in a moment if I'm not careful. Over to you, Paul.
Oh, like, um, no, yeah, like there is so much potential, because, as you say, we could have like it depends on also where we want to go with this. Do we want to go into timeline storylines a little bit more, or do we want to essentially go into the open world of kind of the wider universe playground? Because we could talk about stories of like Hadley's Hope. We could talk about Hadley's Hope, and see, we could have a movie that's entirely about how Hadley's Hope failed. We know where it's going,
Yep.
so like there's no, but the thing is that the story itself is an interesting one. Do we want that? Yes, no. I'd be interested in a Hadley's Hope, but I would also be interested in not having a Hadley's Hope as well. So like, I could leave it or thing. I would be interested in hearing more stories about other people who've possibly encountered these creatures. As you say, you can literally write in the fact that they're self ending kind of like stories, as in it happens on a ship and the ship blows up and there was no survivors. You know, like a planet, as you say, planet gets overrun. They set off every single nuclear weapon they have or something like that, and it's just, the planet's wiped out, and they're just like, oh yeah, the planet got wiped out. We have no idea, Like there's multiple ways of essentially allowing yourself out of the pitfalls of no one, or the fact is you can just be like, yeah, it's classified. You can literally have
Exactly.
military or the company just going, yeah. It turns out there's actually loads of incidents about these creatures. That's why we're so interested in them.
You
You
can
know?
you can do a non-speaking movie and have aliens on an alien as xenomorph or xenomorphs. You can do anything you want and have them fighting jungle creatures. And if you put enough thought into it, maybe make a good story around it. Like literally, it's limitless. And that includes never having to go back to Ripley and
Yeah,
never having to go back. Fine, you can have so many great stories told. Okay, well, what if in the future, Wayland Yutani Corp, what happens if they get what they want, what Burke wanted in Aliens? What if they get that? Talk about using xenomorphs as weapons and how they change them or do any. Fine, continue your stories. Like take your timelines, take your spurs. But there is no need to be like, okay, well, this is Ripley's cousin. And definitely, and I want to be very clear, childhood heroes. Ripley was absolutely a childhood hero. People are weirded out, but you're a boy. I didn't know any better. I didn't care because it doesn't matter. I was like, hey, do you know who one of my heroes was when I was a kid? Burt Reynolds. Do you know who else? Ellen Ripley.
yeah.
Because I thought they were both the coolest people in the world. One had a Trans Am, the other I thought was the most kick-ass person I'd ever seen. So why kill her again by bringing her back to life? Like she's dead. It hurts me to say this. She's gone. Cannot go back. Do not go back. Don't try and reboot with a new Ripley. I'll be really quite sad if I watch this movie and it turns out the one of these people is related to her or this is her daughter's story or something. That's going to piss me right off.
Yeah, we don't need a dynasty kind of thing going on, really. Because,
Did
like,
Star Wars and Skywalker not teach that to anybody? You've created a
yeah.
universe. There's more people in the Skywalker family in it.
Yeah, like that's the thing. I don't want, like, I don't mind if they can play it off if the plot, like, it is done well and it turns out it is Ripley's kind of daughter or relation or something like that. If they can play it off well, because we already have a timeline ending for that person, kind of thing, that like we know how they. So I'm my only problem with, yeah, if they're just like, yeah, this is Ripley's daughter kind of thing, we know, like, it's automatically spoiled about that person just going to be able to survive.
Yep.
Um, but like with what we're saying with this expansive universe, like there's plenty of examples of this universe already having quite an expansive kind of media outlet. Which is, there is audio dramas, there's comic books, there's books that that have mixed of different characters and also just entirely characters on their own. I put up the Alien versus Batman kind of thing just as a joke to show the variety of it, kind
Hell,
of thing.
be creative, use it whatever way you want.
But yeah, like, but they have dramas, they have audio dramas and stuff like that up on Audible and stuff, which don't they? It's just like, yeah, this is another squad on another planet. That's it. Like, they somehow come across the xenomorph kind of thing, and that's it. And books as well, the same. So there's plenty of examples of essentially already media on this, like, based on the xenomorph, that already don't touch the dynasty of Ripley, but go into more of a wider expand story. The thing is that the xenomorph has, without the explanation of where it comes from, the xenomorph has such a depth of just being an unknown monster
Yeah,
that, like, can really play well into just, it's a thing that when you, like, it's the boogeyman of space, essentially. You can have some
exactly.
hardcore industrial trucker worker guys, like, working on some planet, some mining facility kind of thing, and they're just like, hey, do you hear about, like, Hadley's Hope just disappeared? Oh yeah, I heard that, like, they came across some kind of thing that just ate them all, and you're just like, oh yeah, okay, so the legend is like the legend of the boogeyman is already kind of like,
Yeah.
expanding. And then suddenly it's just like, oh, it's there. It's like it's in front of these, like, people who we think are just hardy kind of, like, roughnecks, and they're crapping their pants. There's so much potential that could go on, kind of thing. But the problem with that potential and the rekindling of the trust within the audience of a good story that Romulus can bring it is, does that mean we could end up, could like Ridley Scott be just like, oh, people are interested in aliens again? Hmm, maybe I'll rekindle the David story and have the ending of Covenant be tied in. That's my worry.
Well, obviously, it's not something that we want. If it's something that others want, fill your boots. I'm not here to judge anybody else's likes, dislikes, or tastes, but it wouldn't be to my taste. And that's the bottom line here, Paul. You've already kind of called it out. And when I talked about Prey is how you do a prequel, but Prey is also how you do just an adjacent story in a universe that you were lucky enough to create. I think the way I put it to you was use a universe that has been built to support a new story, not to explain one you've already told. And I was proud of that line when I sent it to you for one reason. I couldn't think of that many universes that haven't been taken from literature or from comics or from wherever else, but things where a movie has been made well, a movie's been made really well, then a sequel has been made well, then a franchise builds where you actually have a lore and a universe to play in. Because a lot of them are either limited by their own construction, which is Terminator.
Yeah.
It brilliantly did everything I just mentioned, but its entire raison d'etre is like its reason for being is its challenge in creating more and more sequels because you have to play inside the same time loop idea or the time travel idea. Star Wars did it, but based it on Norse mythology, I guess, in a lot of ways, and other mythologies. But there are very few. Like it's hard to think of things as clean and clear that came into moviedom and had okay, let's forget that I love the third one and everybody else hates it. Has two movies that are as well received, well rounded as far as storytelling goes, and set you up without ever taking the boogie out of the boogeyman.
Mm. Yeah. Couldn't
It's
have.
rare as hen's teeth, man. It's like I can barely think of any others most of the time.
No, I think it's the problem is that I think with familiarity within these franchise universes is the key point that writers and audiences feel like they need to keep. Kind of thing. As in, like,
Hmm.
I was saying that the Star Trek 2009 movie, which essentially reboots the universe in a different timeline, is something what could be akin to Romulus. Romulus could rekindle essentially an offshoot branch towards somewhere else without time travel, or
Hmm.
anything like that kind of thing. The problem with Star Trek 2009 is the fact is that it still plays with the same characters. Its familiarity is essentially Enterprise, Kirk, Spock, all these kind of familiar characters. The argument is that you don't need the xenomorph itself is the familiarity. The fact is that we are very familiar with the xenomorph. So, like, instead of playing with the the good guy characters as the familiar part, let the monster be the familiar part for your new offshoot grouping within the universe.
Yep.
But the thing is that you can also tell there's multitude of stories within the Alien universe that you could talk about or play off that doesn't actually involve the xenomorph in a large scale.
Yes.
Like, that's the other thing is you could write an entire movie because they're really playing into, and this is the horror part that I love that they're playing into a lot more now, is essentially the face hooker part. They're
Oh yeah.
really heavily leaning into how terrifying face huggers are. The thing
Yeah.
is,
Truly repulsively terrifying.
yeah, you could write an entire movie about someone being stalked by a face hugger. That's it.
Yeah.
There's no ever xenomorph.
In fact, Paul, I'm going to say it live on air. I think we should make a horror short and base it purely around the idea of somebody trapped in a house with a face hugger.
Yeah.
That's, and again, why is it scary? Not just because it's gross. It's because thanks to Alien and Aliens, etc., what it does and what the result is. You don't even ever have to show one grabbing onto somebody and impregnating them or whatever the technical term would be, or implanting them. You can be scared of these things because it's inbuilt. That's an advantage that Jason and Freddy and like classic horror bad guys and slasher flick, demons. They have that, but without, and I'm going to say this with all of my heart, with slightly more cheese than what you get with the Xenomorph.
Mm.
Like it's begging. I hope if Romulus gets one thing right, I would happily follow the Romulus crew and cast or the main character. Right, if they're compelling and you want to tell other stories that don't even involve a Xenomorph, great. If it's going to involve a Xenomorph again, or thousands of them, great. Do it well, all good, but don't miss what you have in your hands.
Yeah, like that's the important thing is Romulus has a very important thing, which is to build the trust back up for the audience. We are fans of the franchise and stuff like that, but we are tired. We are tired of essentially the last three films being kind of essentially a joke in the sense of, or it feels that way in the sense of like it's I know it's trying to tell essentially it's essentially that just the point of the movie is no longer to entertain and scare us. It's more the fact is that they want to tell us how it happened.
Yeah.
And it's just like, no, we need to be entertained and we just need to be scared. That's what we kind of want, you know? Um
Yeah, and Resurrection was just a perfect example of, well, Ripley's our main character. Yeah, but you already killed her, so you don't get to do that anymore. It's gone.
yeah, like that's the important thing. Let's jump to a ad break. We'll be back very shortly, which is we'll be talking about essentially just our worries and kind of our hopes and dreams. We'll see you in a couple of minutes.
See you then. You obviously are like two people talking about movies, or you wouldn't even be seeing this ad. Well, don't tell anyone. But Hear Us Out isn't the only choice. You should check out our friends over at It Takes Two podcast. It's a podcast where two people take two films with the same plot or premise, watch and discuss them. Films like Gremlins and Critters, or The Truman Show on EdTV. Lisa and Nick don't stop there though. They get creative and compare some unexpected movies. Some that you don't see the connection until you realise that they can be described in the same way. They launch new episodes every second Tuesday, or Monday if you're in New Zealand. Find them on your favourite podcast service, or check the link in our description down below. That's It Takes Two podcast. Tell them Hear Us Out sent you.
Cool, welcome back. We're optimistically hopeful for the rekindling of essentially a franchise that we love, that has been mishandled for a little bit of time. But we're also looking forward to, if this does rekindle things, what in the future could we possibly be getting. I do want to go to the chat, which is a little bit. Bruce says that he saw it in the cinema and he looks interesting. He also says that the director choice is interesting. Yeah, like Evil Dead and stuff like that. There's a couple of choices in the there's a couple of choice kind of movies that this person has done. So I think the horror elements is very in control there.
Yeah, very intense chap. So I was not disappointed by the choice of director. I was actually quite excited.
Yeah, no, it seemed like a really good choice to kind of, like, you can learn the action part, but the horror part, not so much.
Hard to teach. Yeah, hard to teach.
Skip.
Yeah, go for it.
I was going to say Skip and Crone said Alien 3 and Covenant are the worst. Prometheus was okay. And I actually replied going, I will defend 3 a bit more than liking Prometheus. I like 3. I think it's I think they try to rekindle the horror part of 3.
I could defend it all night long with all sorts of stuff, but we don't have enough tape for that. So I'll just say I respectfully disagree, but I really thank you for joining the live chat and commenting. Brian's got a good point here, though, as in I think it's a very honest and straightforward sentiment. I just want a good movie. I'm not bothered about what comes next, and couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. If this is the last Alien thing they ever make, I'll be very, very happy. Unfortunately, dude, we live in a world where if any money is available, they will try and squeeze it. That's why I care, because if this is good and does well, there'll be some pressure on the next people to try and squeeze money out of it to make something good. what's made me sad from, Alien 3, from Resurrection on for me, is that idea, and a lot of the Alien versus Predator various stuff, was the idea that we're going to squeeze it for money, but we're going to do it without any care. Like for me, Alien and Aliens are classics of their genre, two different genres, to a level that they're Mount Rushmore in their genres. They are the movies you put up there to say this is some of the best. That's why this matters. If Romulus does well, people will have to take it seriously again when they get the rights to make these movies. It's not just going to be, we have to do something, we've got an option on this, let's throw something out. I'm with you. Like, if they never made another one after this, if this one was good, I'd love it. If it's good and it makes money, we're getting another 10, because that's what happens.
Yeah, that's the problem. I just want to point out the fact that, which is, I just want a good movie. I'm not bothered about what comes next. Is very much indicative of what the current audience, the fan base of the Alien franchise, is currently wanting. Like, we're talking about the potential of expanding the universe, because if this is good, it's going to happen. And this is the kind of direction that we would like it to go in, if it is going to happen. But
Yeah.
man, I'm with you. I just like, if they do nothing else, if they go Romulus is our last film and it's a banger, man, it'll be so happy. Like, it'll be so good to just go into a movie, into an Alien movie, and just be like, man, I am terrified of those things, and not,
Yeah.
man, Michael Fassbender is a real creep when he plays a robot. You know, like,
Yeah.
that's my hope.
And he's my favorite, as in, because he's a fantastic actor. He's one of my favorite things about some movies that obviously Charlize Theron got tied up in the follow. Again, I don't want to talk about those things. Actually, I've just realized I'll go off on a tangent. But Paul, if I was to kind of squeeze some of the sentiment into a little nugget, I would say there are very few movies in cinema history that stand head and shoulders above all of their peers. And because the only reason we care or talking about any of this is that Alien and Aliens are some of those. So that's why it matters. Usually it doesn't matter. You just want them to make a good movie, forget about everything else. But now that this has, like I was saying earlier, we didn't ask it to become a franchise, but it did. And now that it has, there's some care that's owed to it. We're not talking about, dude, where's my car 16 here.
Yeah.
We're talking about something that's going to be on the same shelf as the Ellen Ripley timeline. This is important stuff for movie nerds like us. I know it's not important stuff for the world. I'm not saying that this beats, world hunger or wars or anything, whatever your political thing today might be. But when we're talking just in this microcosm of movies and entertainment, this is one of those big ones. This is one of the big important franchises for me. And I don't like that it's a franchise, but it is.
Yeah, legacy. It's got legacy.
Legacy.
That's going to be the most important thing. The last movie that we remember is Covenant, and it's not great. So, like, let's not, like, as we say, if Romulus is the last movie that they ever make, let it be a good one, because the legacy essentially is already tarnished. That if we can make one last good one that we can all remember, because that's the thing, is no one remembers your first, but everybody will remember your last. So
that's it.
That's the problem.
That's it.
So yeah,
that's a great way to put it, Paul. Good way to wrap.
So yeah, it's a beloved film. We're gonna be looking forward to it. We might make a short about it when we get to see it. When we both get to see it, we might make a short just about our thoughts on it. Just so that you guys can see our follow up. Yeah, so far the reviews I've looked at have been very positive. I've gotten a few quotes which is like back to a kind of original state. Makes us feel like we're back in on the Nostromo. Like, there's plenty of kind of really nice kind of, like, you can tell that my only worry is that, like, I hope I haven't gotten into an echo chamber of kind of reviews that I want to see. So I gotta go hunting and see if there's anyone who doesn't like it and why they didn't like it so far. But I'm hopefully going to be seeing this tomorrow. Which is and
I'm going to be a couple of days after, unfortunately, due to family commitments. But I think Paul will definitely let the world know, just because I've made such a big stink and because we're both such big fans, whether or not this was a squee moment where we're all happy and jumping up and down afterwards because it was exactly what we ordered for Christmas, or if it's, oh gosh, we didn't think it could go any lower, but it has. I'm kind of confident that it's going to be more of the former and not the latter, but I'm still tempering my expectations. I've been hurt before.
I'm trying
I've been
to
hurt
I'm trying to temper my feelings on the
before.
whole thing because I know that I could just go nerd out about this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well,
um,
I'd love to know what everybody else out there thinks. So, in the live comments and in the future watching this video, just let us know if you've seen it. Love to hear your thoughts. What are you excited for? What do you think the possibilities are if this does work out?
yeah. So just to echo those things, yeah. What's your favorite Alien film? You know,
Yeah. What's your least favorite Alien film?
did you like the? What are your problems with Prometheus and Covenant, or do you? What are your favorite parts of Prometheus and Covenant? And yeah, let us know what you think the potential of essentially Romulus does to this franchise. Is it going to rekindle us and stuff like that? And yeah, if you've seen, there's a lot. We're
Yeah.
asking you a lot.
And
We
yeah,
do.
how about this? Comment army, get in there and everybody back me up that Alien 3 is actually really quite good. Okay? There you go. There's my request to the
Hey,
net.
I'm right there with you. Alien Three is
Well,
good.
and this I know. And which is why, Paul, every time I see you on YouTube, I hit like. Most of the time I see you on YouTube, I'm with you. So if anybody out there is getting that feeling right now, just because they can see Paul's face, they should hit a like too. I completely understand. And I say do it. If you can subscribe, if it doesn't bother you to do so, we would love to actually get some of the people that watch our videos to actually subscribe. So that'd be cool. We would really appreciate that. Most importantly, though, tell your friends and get in the comments. I would love to have a long, long chat with somebody that thinks Alien 3 is the best, along with some people that think Alien 3 is the worst.
Yeah, might as well. We have a good community, so we would love to hear all your thoughts as much as possible. Which is, with that said, I've been Paul,
And I've been Patrick.
and we've been Here Us Out. We'll catch you next week. Bye bye.
See you soon.